at the beginning, how much did they tell you about who Head 6 really was, and also at Capricorn 6, who Head Baltar really was?
I knew nothing until the finale, and I'm not joking. I really didn't know. I stopped asking after a while. You may have heard me say this before, but Ron Moore always does a series Bible, and when you start, and every character has like a 2 or 3 page backstory filling in about what Ron thinks that character's life has been about, and number 6 was one sentence: the machine as woman. And I went up to him, I'm like, I'm the newest actor in the group, and this is what I get? He goes, well, you're the only known Cylon at this point, and I haven't decided everything about the Cylon, so I can't give you a backstory yet. So I learned very early on that I just kind of say the words and try and equate it to something in my life to make it personal to me, and have some conviction. But I gave up trying to figure out if I was a chip or if I was an angel, if I was a demon, or if I was just a malfunction or what, and just tried to have fun playing it.
This side.
I was just curious, with the show being so dramatic and a lot of you having such a history, if the relationship we saw between the characters was more emotional for you in relation to your past history, or was just the way it gets?
Or it was just, what was the last part?
If it's just the way it is.
Well, I think it was very emotional because we were like, we spent that long together and knew the characters or everybody so well that I think it definitely was emotional, yeah. Not just the way it is.
Yeah, I think over the course of the show too, like when you're doing 5 years together, obviously some of us were working with other actors in the show a lot more. Trisha and James's relationship, Eddie and Mary, Grace and I, Starbuck and Apollo. Those relationships, I mean, you watch, if you're a true fan of the show, you watch those develop, and in real life that was happening too. You become really close with a person when you're working day in and day out with them, and actually spending more time with them than you are your family, even in some ways. So definitely happens.
It's interesting spending that long together because you, the viewer, in this format, if I have a scene run into Sarah in the hall, we don't have to talk about our backstory. You just know. You look at it and go, whoa, Ty and Sarah are in the hall together. What's going to happen next? And if it was a one-off movie of the week, we'd have to spend this time together going, now, what do you think? And how do we indicate that to the audience that we wouldn't be comfortable together? We would have to do that work, but with the Battlestar, after you were into the swing of it, it'd be, well, there's no acting required. Just go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That always happened. I mean, every time Lee and I were doing a scene together, we didn't do a lot, but we got in the same room, we were always going at it. Douglas and I too. But as characters, you know what I mean? We give each other shit right away. Because we're in there. Couldn't help it. There's another question over there?
Love you guys. I was just wondering, if anything, what would you have done differently if, as a Cylon character, it turned out that if you were a Cylon, if you played a human instead, or if you played a human character, if it had turned out that you became a Cylon, what would you have thought about, what would you have changed?
Well, Hogan has this firsthand. I'm not quite sure if I understand, but since I knew I was a Cylon from the beginning, I just went with it. I mean, I didn't try and think of what I would be like as a human. The only thing is, I would try and pepper my performance for each clone or each number 6 with degrees of how much contact they'd had with humans. To me, informed how comfortable they were with them and how maybe more human they were than if they'd had no contact. So for me, that was kind of the only real human aspect that I brought into it was how much of humans informed their personality.
I wouldn't have done anything different. I think that was the brilliance of their decision to have Sultai, even though I did disagree with it initially, to have Sultai be a Cylon. I said it before, but it's kind of like the horrible intertribal wars and interreligious wars that go on and are going on around the world. If it's all of a sudden you find out at this age in life that you were actually born a Muslim, or if you were actually born a Hutu or something, and you've been fighting all your life, what terror that puts into you, because if Sultai, if he isn't the oldest human being alive, there's only about 30,000 of us left, he certainly has the most battle experience and is the most dangerous. And so that's wonderful scene in the CIC with Adama when he tells Tai to do something, and it says, are there something wrong with you? When I don't reply, and I say, no, I never felt better in my life, or whatever the line is, and shoot him right in the eye, and down he goes. That is the nightmare that Sultai is living with, that something's going to snap. And so I wouldn't have done anything different. I think it was brilliant that they left it, didn't tell me for that long, because I couldn't have made use of that information any time before. I wouldn't have had that same emotion of telling Adama that you got to airlock me, I am one of the final five.
I don't think I ever contemplated the idea, actually. Once we got into, deep in the second season, I didn't think that was a possibility, so I didn't really give it too much thought. It's a good question.
I certainly thought about it in the launch, too, on the way out. A little late. But, it is interesting with the whole Cylon thing, because I think on some level, maybe after the initial shot of so many characters finding out they were Cylons, and I think some of us hoped we were Cylons, we would have a second chance at life. And, but the metaphor also, Battlestar operates at so many different levels, and, I hate to say it, there's a Cylon in all of us, we all deal with self-destructive programs and, all kinds of things that are kind of operating inside of us, and we're always struggling with that. I thought the brilliance of Ron Moore was really creating this dichotomy, this relationship between the human side and the Cylon side. And that when you found out you were a Cylon, you didn't all of a sudden become a Cylon. You were really struggling between this programming you had and the human part, which is something I think we can all identify with. So I really like what they did with that. And I would have loved this.
Yeah, none of us thought you
Me too.
Come back. I don't think I'm here.
There is a Cylon in all of us.
Who are you pointing at?
I said there is a Cylon in all of us, and it's his fault.